So praise God. I wanted to share first of all a testimony. Yesterday we went to the pool and I was feeling a little sore and so Wanda said, why don't we go to the jacuzzi first? So we went over and after we'd been in a few minutes, this gentleman came and joined us and he started talking about, Wanda was asking him about something and he said, well, I got burned.
It was an explosion.
In an explosion. And he said that, as it turned out, he said he was smoking a lot of weed, but I know what he described was he was doing crack because he had a guy light a butane and it exploded on him and 70% of his body was in third-degree burns. And so he shared about the miracle of that. And I said, Lord, I think you want me to give my testimony today. And I kept waiting. And then a couple other guys joined. And one was a young man. And he had his hair in a hair bun. And the other gentleman started talking to him immediately about the job he was starting. And they looked enough alike that I thought, oh, maybe that's his son. You know, and they even left together after we were back in the pool. But anyways, I kept waiting and waiting. I said, Lord, I know you want me to share this, but I'm just waiting on you for the right moment. And finally, the Lord said, now you can speak. So I said, you know, I'm fairly acquainted with miracles myself. So I started sharing, going back to the first one when I fell through the ice on the submarine and the miracle rescue, just when I was giving up and about to drown, how they couldn't even see me through the ice, and yet the grappling hook somehow caught my coat and pulled me out of the water. And I had a winter coat on. I had a .45 handgun with 10 magazines all around my waist. And I didn't want to let go of that belt because I thought if I live, the captain's never going to forgive me. And that was all weighing me down. And as the coat filled with water, I was sinking. I knew I was about to die. And I said, Lord, just receive me. And that's when they pulled me out. And it was late at night. And we were docked in the river, but the river was frozen. The Thames River in Connecticut. A guy on another sub saw me, that I was no longer there. I had a steel safety line that the devil tried to kill me because it just snapped and I slid off the deck into the water. And so I just knew I was going to die, and yet the Lord spared me. I had no hypothermia, nothing. The Lord just completely spared me. And I said, so that was the first. I said, just 3 years later, I die in a motorcycle accident. And he goes, yeah, I was dead for 6 minutes. I said, I was dead for 6 hours. And the young guy is, you know, and so then I said how the Lord raised me. I said, just 6 months later, I was electrocuted and I was dead for 45 minutes. And they're looking, you know, and so I'm going on about these miracles in my life. And then the one guy, he didn't react that much. The guy who had been the explosion. But we went on, we did our workout, showered, and we're walking out, and I see that I'm sitting with the one guy on a bench waiting for Wanda, and he didn't have much to say other than it was nice hearing you. I thought, okay. The young man, I noticed he was standing outside the door, and as we walked by, we just kind of nodded, get in the car, and I started the engine, and all of a sudden I look in my side mirror, and the young man is walking out to us. And he signals to me, so I roll down the window, and he holds out his hands. He goes, I just want to thank you for what you shared. He goes, that was amazing. What you shared is so powerful. And then I want to thank you for your service. You know, and I thought, Lord, thank you. You had me. If we'd have gone later, there was a crowd of people later there, and we wouldn't even gone to the jacuzzi. Mm-hmm. But here the Lord had us go so I could give that testimony to this guy. especially, and then the young man who knows what was going on with him, that he felt so reactive to it, you know. And now it just gets back to how the Lord is always wanting us to share our testimony, right? We overcome them by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so that's why God gives us a testimony. There's always an opportunity to share that, you know. And who knows who, there's an older guy, we see him every time in the jacuzzi one there. He didn't say a word, but boy, he was listening to the whole thing, you know. So praise God, you know.
Amen. Bless the Lord.
Okay,